Hey rockers, welcome back to Bloody F Mess Official. Tonight I've got a story for you that has nothing to do with rock and roll and everything to do with making more bad decisions, which, you know, a lot of our lives are kind of made up of these bad decisions. At least I can speak for myself in that department. But we do learn, if we're wise, from every bad decision we make. So tonight I'm going to say, before I get into this story, I do not recommend anyone try what I've done. I do not recommend anyone do it at all, really, because what I'm going to tell you is something I would never, ever do again. But I've made the choice twice now to try this plant called Salvia. Everyone raise your hand. Have you tried Salvia? What was your experience? Please consider subscribing to this channel, like the story, give it a thumbs up at the end if you dig it, and leave your comment if you've tried Salvia and what is your experience with that plant. It was quite intense both times I did this, okay? Again, I'm not recommending this for anybody, and I'm not saying it's a cool thing. It's simply me telling another chapter of my book. 2 stories in one video. Okay, Salvia divinorum. It's a species of plant known for its psychoactive properties when its leaves or extracts are smoked, chewed, or made into a tea, right? It's native to Mexico, primarily to facilitate shamanic visions. Yeah, Mazatec shamans have a long tradition of religious use for spiritual healing sessions. Now, over half of the United States have passed laws criminalizing salvia, but not in the state of California, where I did it once. Of course, it is illegal in Illinois, which is where I did it the first time. Now, the first time I did salvia had to have been sometime between, I would say, 1998 and the early 2000s, right? Tracy and I were hanging out at the house, and a friend of mine came by. I don't remember who the friend was, but it was a friend of mine that came, I think, from a desert state, and he said, "Hey man, Bloody, I've got some salvia. Want to try it?" Well, I'd heard some crazy stuff about salvia when you put it on a little bit of something and smoke it. And it's got these psychoactive active properties that has a lot of trippy hallucinatory repercussions. Boy, is that a minimal saying. Let me tell you something, man. My buddy came over. I'm sitting on the couch. Tracy and my buddy are talking. He gives me the salvia. I'm looking at this little bag of stuff. I have no idea how much to use. So what do? I put a little bit of smoke in a bowl, and then I dump the salvia from the little baggie on top of the smoke, and the TV's on, and they're talking. And I was going to say, how much of this stuff should I smoke? But I didn't get a chance because, well, they were talking and I didn't want to interrupt. So I just said, screw it. Can't be that big of a deal, right? So I dumped all the contents onto my bowl of weed, fired it up, and just about a minute later, all of a sudden, maybe even less, I start seeing these colorful coils coming out of the television set. And I was like, and they're looking at me, they're like, "Hey, are you feeling that salvia? We saw you just smoked it. You smoked that whole bag?" I'm like, and then my buddy's like, "That was like 10 doses. I'm like, and they said, "Are you feeling its effects?" And for some reason, I got really paranoid. And I said, "No, man, not feeling nothing." And I sat there the entire time. I was experiencing this insane experience, acting like I was not experiencing it. I don't know why, but I saw these big coils coming out of the TV. And then the weirdest thing ever, I could hear, you're not going to believe me, I could hear what they were thinking, and I knew what they were going to say before they said it. Yep, weird stuff, man. And I was sitting there completely freaking out, thinking this can't be real. They would think something, and then they would say it, and I was like, how in the hell did I know they were going to say that? Then that made me get very paranoid, thinking, they're thinking that I'm high and they're against me. And it got really, really weird. I'm telling you, man, it was like a full-blown trip on the most heavy psychedelic. And it lasted for about anywhere from 3 to 10 minutes. I can't remember. It was really intense, man. And I've done a lot of psychedelics in my years. Again, not recommending that for anybody else. Just telling you my experience, man. but it was incredibly intense. And I mean, I was seeing colors coming out of that TV. I could hear their thoughts. And then a few minutes later, I was, boom, back to completely normal. And then I said, wow, you guys, I lied to you. I was totally tripping balls and I could hear your thoughts. And they're like, weirdo. I'm like, no, this was crazy. I'll never do this stuff again. That was way too intense. Way bizarre. Like, I should never have had those powers, or maybe the powers are already there and the salvia opened up a door. I don't know, man. But we're going to flash forward to the year, I'm going to say around 2008. Something like that. 2007, 8, 9, 2007 or 8. Well, I'm not going to tell you the names of the two people I was with to protect the guilty, but they were both doing it with me. I was in Los Angeles, California, visiting a friend with a family member, and I'm not going to say who these people are because I just don't know if they'd want to admit to doing salvia, and it's not my right to expose people, so I always either change the name or, like I say, don't, I protect the identity to protect the guilty. So we're walking down the boardwalk at Venice, California, right by the ocean, Los Angeles. I see a little guy in a shop selling salvia. And I thought, wow, this stuff was crazy years ago. And I asked my friend and family, have you guys ever heard of this? And they're like, yeah, but we don't know much about it. I thought, I'm going to buy a little bit of this. Bad decision, bloody. And we hung out in California all night, had a great time, went out to eat, went to all these cool places, went and checked out the places where the Doors had hung out and recorded, and went to the place where Pamela Corson, Jim Morrison's wife, passed away, and all kinds of Doors places, right? Well, later that night or early in the morning, at about 3, 4 in the morning, we decided we wanted to go down to the ocean and check out the moonlight, man. That Moonlight Drive, because we're all Doors fans. And that's where Jim Morrison used to sleep on the roof down there by Venice Beach, and that's where he wrote Moonlight Drive. So we thought, let's go down and check out the moonlight and go hang out at the beach. Well, when we got there, I said, wow, I've got that salvia from earlier. Bad decision. This was one of the weirdest things that's ever happened to me. First of all, the people I was with had their, they decided they wanted to try it. They were curious. So put a little bit of weed in the pipe, a little bit of salvia. They both took a little puff. And then I dumped what was probably 10 times more than the recommended dosage onto a pipe. And I mean, it was a lot more than you're supposed to try. And I took the biggest puff I could. The next thing you know, and this is quite bizarre, I literally saw my body and felt my body turn to sand and just go whoof. And all of a sudden, I couldn't see anything. I couldn't hear anything, but I could hear myself thinking. And my consciousness was completely intact. And I kept thinking, oh my God, how am I going to get back to my body? I can feel my consciousness, but I don't see a body. I don't see anything. I can't feel any of my limbs. And I started freaking out, man. And I don't know what was going on during that interim, but I ended up I tried to reach out and touch somebody, but I couldn't use my body at all. It was like I literally was gone physically or something. So my friend who's on the right of me and my family member on the left, they weren't experiencing what I was experiencing, but they were still feeling its effects. So when I was finally able to talk after I don't know how long, I was like, please grab my arm so I can feel my body. Well, my friend who was tripping and completely lost mentally in the moment said, no, I'm not going to touch your arm. I'm like, please, so I can feel myself, get back to my body somehow. Well, a minute later, the people I was with, they came down and I was still out of it. They grabbed my arm, and slowly but surely, I could feel my body again, and it was just like sand going back to physical reality. Whoosh! All of a sudden, I was back. But when I looked down at my feet, I had kicked a huge, maybe 3 foot, not 3 foot, a foot of sand had been dug out by my feet kicking, and there was this huge area where my feet had just been flailing, and I was covered in sand. And my friend and family member were both like, oh my God, are you okay? You're mental. Dude, you were losing your mind. I said, look, I couldn't feel my body. I didn't know how I was going to get back to you guys. And you wouldn't take my hand. She was like, yeah, man, I was tripping so hard. I was scared and paranoid to touch your arm. I'm like, oh my God. It was really, really surreal. And to have done that twice, I can say one thing for sure. You better think twice about doing salvia. And if you're going to make a bad decision, try to do the recommended dosage and maybe have some chill experience that you can say you enjoyed and not something that became almost horrific and psychic and weird and very out of body. I'm telling you, man, it was wild. Tell me your experiences with Salvia. And once again, you guys, I'm not saying anyone should go out and do the things I did. I just like telling entertaining tales, and that's all I can do, man. That's my Salvia memories, however, and I'm going to stick to it. The next video will be about some kind of rock and roll, I promise. But I just wanted to do a quick storia about Salvia. Yeah, man. Cheers. Thank you again for subscribing to my channel, and I appreciate each and every one of you from the bottom of my black little heart. Cheers, man, and you can reach me by finding my email in the description area. Adios, amigos.